Afternoon. You may have your seats for just a second, but you're going to get back on your feet in just a second. So whichever way you want to do, if you want to sit, stand back, whichever way you want to make it happen, it's all good. Welcome to Sunrise Christian Fellowship, where we truly believe that joy comes in the morning. I'm so happy to have so many seats that are filled in this place on this afternoon. That means that God didn't work me out for no reason. Y'all know he works me out every look. This ain't easy to do every single week in and week out. So I appreciate y'all coming to hear what God wants to say to his people on this place. We are in our year of just Jesus. If you are just now joining us, all we got for you is Jesus. We ain't got nothing else. We ain't got nothing else to share you. We don't have anything else to give you. If you were looking for something else other than Jesus, stick around. We still love you, but that's all we got for you this month and this year. And so this year we decided to stop in on Jesus' works. We've done so many other things that we're talking about what Jesus is and what he does. And Pastor did so really well last week, started us off telling us to remember about the stuff that God did. Remember what he did. Mark the place where he did something to you the last time he did something for you. You can't forget your wins. We sit so much time in our losses and thinking about our losses. How many of y'all remember who broke your heart first? How many of y'all remember the first person that rejected you? How many of y'all remember the first bad thing somebody said to you? You didn't know you had a big head till somebody told you had a big head, right? We remember all the bad stuff, right? God wants you to remember the good stuff that he's done in your life. We move so fast past all of that. So Jesus is working. We're in our month of Jesus works. That's why we got this lovely banner right behind us. And that's what we're going to talk about on today. And so if you could stand up on your feet, we're going to get into this word that God has for us on tonight. We're going to jump into John chapter 9. We're going to read verses 1 through 5. And then we're going to bounce on over to 1 Peter. We're going to hit chapter 4. And we're going to read verses 12 through 14. Both of them in the New Living Translation. I'm so glad that you guys all have the physical strength to stand up on your feet. That means God is working in this place. So let's go ahead and get to what he's got for us. John chapter 9, verses 1 through 5 in New Living Translation. Let's read it together. As Jesus was walking along, he saw a man who had been blind from birth. Rabbi, his disciple asked him, why was this man born blind? Was it because of his own sins or his parents' sins? It was not because of his sins or his parents' sins, Jesus answered. This happened so that
we must quickly carry out the task assigned us by the one who sent us. The night is coming, and then no one can work. But while I am here in the world, I am the light of the world.
1 Peter chapter 4, verse 12.
Dear friends, don't be surprised at the fiery trials you are going through, as if something strange were happening to you. Instead, be very glad, for these trials make your partners with Christ in his suffering, so that you will have the wonderful joy of seeing his glory when it is revealed to all. If you are insulted because you bear the name of Christ, you will be blessed, for the glorious Spirit of God rests on you.
All right. And as you go to your seats, we are going from what Pastor left us last week about talking about Mark the place where Jesus last worked. But I want to talk to all of you that are currently in a work, right? That are currently going through something, that are currently in something. It don't have to be bad, but there's something that's going on that you are currently sitting in, that you're trying to work in. And so I want to talk to those on this afternoon about the glory of the work. I want to talk about the glory of the work, right? That's what we're going to get to, because we're talking about Jesus' work. And so let's go to work. Let's do that, right? Let's go to work. Y'all going to work today. I don't know if I know y'all came to sit and hear, but y'all going to work today. And I mean that for real. We're going to find out in a second. But let's go to work. 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 Oh, let's go to work. Oh, my gosh. Let's go to work. Y'all know work. Y'all know work. Y'all know work. Mental or physical effort that is done in order to achieve a purpose or a result. Y'all know work. Y'all know what I'm talking about when I say work. Oh my gosh, something that must be done something that's got to be made. Y'all know what I'm saying when I say work, right? Work, the exertion of some force, you know what I mean? The overcoming of some resistance, you know what I mean? Work, the producing of some change, work, right? I got to go to work. I got to go to work, right? I can't because I got to go to work. I wish I could, but I got to go to work. You know what I'm saying? Seems like all I do is work. You know what I mean? I feel like that old saying, I owe, so off to work I go, right? You know what I'm saying? There's even people that make songs about work. Rihanna said work, 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 work. That was the whole chorus. Work. Y'all know what I'm saying about work, right? They have all these sayings about work. Like if you want it, you're gonna have to work for it, right? Anything worth having is worth working for, right? They even say that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. That's what your coaches say when they want to charge you up when you get ready to play a team that you ain't got no business beating. They say that to get you motivated, but we know y'all about to lose 72-2. We know what's getting ready to happen, but hey, maybe if y'all outwork them, hard work. And this week, in preparing for this message this week, I had to work, right? But I split my time doing my work, right? I split some time doing work, my actual job that I get paid to do, right? And then I split my time working on this message, right? Which is actually my job as well. You know what I'm saying? That I'm happy to do. And then I split my time working on my fantasy football team, right? Which is a job. I don't care what y'all say. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? It's work to be done on my fantasy football team. And you know what I mean? And I know that last part doesn't seem like it fits together with all that, but I need y'all to stay with me. Stay with me on this whole message because I'm going to go some places and I'm going to do some things and it's going to seem like we lost our way. Stay with me. All right, stay with me. That last thing about fantasy football, because I need y'all to get God out of just being Sunday. I need y'all to get God out of just being Saturday. I need y'all to get God out of just being church and church songs and hymnals and the Bible just itself. Don't you know God loves everything? God loves fantasy football. Yes, he does. He wouldn't allow it to happen if he didn't love it. God was helping me build my fantasy football team. God, who do I draft? Who do I pick up? Who's going to get hurt this week? Who's going to get hurt? God help me out. And I got some dogs on my team. I got some fighters on my team. And God started speaking to me in my process of building my fantasy football team because I'm trying to teach y'all something. God is involved in everything. He started talking to me about these players. And he was saying, we don't really think all the time about all the work that they do. Right. All this work that they do in order to achieve a goal. They're trying to achieve something. They're trying to win a championship. Every year in and year out, all this work that we do, we're not with them. We're not out there with them running sprints. We're not out there with them doing their job or doing the work. We're not out there with them. They work really hard to win y'all don't seem to understand. Eddie, come here, please, for a second. Just for a second. Just for a second. Just for a second. Zaria, come here just for a second. This is what I need. Eddie, can you get in the push-up position? Zaria, can you do the same? Okay. Just for a second. Just for a second. Now, we're not trying to hit any particular goal, but I'm gonna just have Eddie do as many push-ups as you can, and Zaria, you stay in that position. Just we're gonna do it just for a minute. No, Zaria, you just hold the position. Just hold the plank. Just hold. Y'all cheer them on. Don't let them just sit there. 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 Pace yourself. Yeah. Come on. Stay there. Yeah. It's difficult. I know. It's hard work. Y'all good? Halfway. We halfway. Take a break. But we only halfway there. Take a break, but keep going. We only halfway there. We only as many as just as many as you can do. Just as many as you can do. We got 15 seconds. Come on. Let's come on. Chill on. Yes. Yeah. 5 seconds. Yeah. Time. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Appreciate you. Let's go. These guys work hard. These are some dogs. They work hard. These players do countless amount of reps. They do countless amount of exercises and weight training and stretching and film studies and all this stuff that we don't ever see. We just watch them on Saturday and yell when they mess up and cheer when they do well. And they doing all this stuff to win a championship and to the glory of being a champion, the glory of saying that they are a champion. But my question that I started to think about, me and God was having this conversation is, where does that glory go? You know, after the parade is over, after they done went to Disneyland, after they done filmed the commercials, after, you know what I'm saying, basketball season is really going and we watching that, the Olympics. Where was the glory of the Super Bowl during the Olympics? Where did it go? You know what I'm saying? What happened to it, right? Where did all that glory go that they fought so hard for? When all the fanfare is over and when the fans move on, where does the glory go? Well, it goes with the team. That's where it stays. The team gets the Super Bowl trophy. The team gets banners made. The team goes down in the history books that they won the Super Bowl. But the players, over time, we forget about them. We forget about the people that did all the work, all the practice, let me prove my point. The Kansas City Chiefs are on pace to win a third Super Bowl. That's only been done one other time in all of NFL history. All of NFL history. Does anybody know, don't guess, do you know what the other team was that won 3 Super Bowls back to back to back? Anybody? Does anybody know? Does anybody know? Don't guess. I'm so glad that Pastor's not here because it was the Packers. The Packers are the only other team. They're the only team. From 1965 to 1967, they won 3 Super Bowls. Does anybody know one player that was on that team? One. They've only done something they're the only team that's ever done this. Anybody? One. Y'all see what I'm saying? All that hard work, all that pain, all those tackles, all that running, all those bruises, all that frustration, all those injuries, all those meetings, all that time, all of that work, where did it go? It went only to the team. And it was only a side story that they were talking about on the game, just a little bit like, oh, yeah, the Packers did this, right? All of that work, it went to the glory of the team, which made me start thinking, right, about us and in our day-to-day life, our normal stuff that we do, right? And my question was, who do you work for? Every day. All the stuff that you do, how you fill up your day, all the hours that you put in, right? Who do you work for? Who actually do you? Y'all not understand. Jojo, come here, please. Kat, come here, please. I need y'all to understand. I need y'all to understand. Kat, I want you to hold those. Jojo, I want you to stand right here. Okay. Now, Kat, I want you to do curls. All right. Just when I tell you to go, just until, okay. Jojo, I want you to hold on. Not yet. Don't tire yourself out yet. Don't tire yourself out yet. Don't go. Jojo, I want you to do, you know what a box jump is? We don't have a box, but you know what I'm talking about. Just jump with your knees up as high as you can go. Okay, I want you to continue to do that. Y'all got 1 minute. Let's go. Let's go. Come on, chill on. Yeah. Yeah. Come on, Jojo. Yeah. Halfway. Come on. We got 20 seconds. 20 seconds. Yeah. 10 seconds. 10. Let's go. go. Let's go. I'll gladly take those off of your heads. Right? See, so often when we work, that's what our day looks like. You're pushing, you're just trying to get through, you get halfway there, you go to lunch, and you're trying to see, you start looking up at the clock, God, Lee, 3 more hours, come on, man. Like, I'm just trying to make it through. You went to the bathroom, you sat and watched a YouTube video, came out, it was like only 2 minutes. I know what y'all do. I know what you do, right? We do all this work. They did all that work. For who? Who did they do that for? Does anybody, like we do all this work. By definition, we all work. We all exert mental and physical effort in order to achieve a goal or purpose or to some kind of result. We all work, right? Everybody works. Getting a degree is work. Doing what it takes to buy a house, that's work, right? Raising kids, that's work, right? Even doing housework and chores, dealing with people and their feelings and their emotions, that's work, right? And I know some of y'all may say, well, not everybody, because not all of us got a job. Not everybody got a job. But learning the lyrics to 21 Savage still takes mental effort. It still takes work. Okay, I'm sorry, Taylor Swift. Okay, fine. The Clark sisters. Y'all happy? Right? That takes work. That's work. That's work. Eddie and BJ and Montreal, y'all don't look at me. Running game on girls. You know, that's work. That's actually takes some work to do if you're gonna do it actually well. And you're gonna do it good. And that's work. Being good at Madden. That's work. I know y'all don't think it's work because they in there for hours. You know what I'm saying? Hours upon hours putting in all this time. And I know it may not be work that you value, but that's work. But I'll come down your lane. Candy Crush and Monopoly Go. That's work. Think it's not work? Let your phone erase it right now. You got to start from the beginning. Let's see how mad you would be. Why? Because you put time. You put some effort. Right? You put time and you put some effort into it. That's work, right? You know what I'm saying? All that time you spend on social media, you know, being a social media detective. I know y'all in here. Y'all know what I'm talking about. They threw a sub out there. They threw a sub in what they put in their status, and then you started noticing, wait a minute, I don't really see, they ain't been posting their boyfriend a whole lot, right? I don't really see them posting their husband. And then you go in their photos and you start going back and you're like, well, where did the wedding photos go? Then they took all the wedding photos down, and now they ain't got no more pictures of them and their husband. So then you go to your burner account and you go to his account and you start looking and you know what I'm saying, because you're trying to figure out what's going on. You know what I'm saying? That's work. You're a social media detective. That's work. I know you may not value it, but it's work. But my question is, who gets the glory for all this work? Who are you working for? I'm not condemning all this stuff. Some of this stuff, yes, stop being a social media detective. Stop that immediately. That's not going to help anybody. But I don't want you to miss the fact that there was work involved, because when it comes to God, right, then it's like I don't have time. I don't really have the mental effort. I don't have the mental ability. When we tell you to read the scriptures and do some studying, oh no, you don't want to be a detective then. You don't want to, look up no other stuff. You don't want to find out the deeper meaning behind this, that, and the third. You can take a tweet and dissect it all the way down from the seconds they put it up and what they look like and what dress they had. Oh, you can tell how much money they spent, and when they return that thing from Shein and you can see the tag in the back. You can do all of that when it's on social media. But when it comes to the things of God, we don't have any of that ability to put forth all that work. Now it's too much work. But I want you to see that stuff that you was doing over there, that's work. That takes mental effort, right? It's work, right? To fulfill those purposes and whatnot. But again, the question is, who got the glory and who are you working for? On your job, those of you that have a job, right? You get up every day, sometimes sick, sometimes tired, irritated, frustrated, cramping. What my ladies at? Cramping. You know what I'm saying? You get up, you still go, sometimes depressed, sleepy, hungry, uninspired. Some of us even went suicidal. You get up and you do all this stuff, and you do it all for the glory of who or what? Applebee's? You do it for the glory of Caesar's Palace? Clark County? You do it for the glory of Amazon? I don't know where you work. Willie's Weenie Wagon? I don't know where you work. But you do it for the glory of who? Yourself? And don't get me wrong. I understand that all of this work is a means to an end. It's to actually to provide for yourself. But I'm saying the actual work of it, the glory that all of that time, effort, and energy when you punch in and when you clock out, all of that stuff is going to eventually fade away. It's going to fade. If you don't believe me, all that I just said that you get up and you go to work with, don't you realize that the clerks, the managers, and the shift leaders of Toys R Us and Mervyn's, they did all that too? All the people that worked at McFrugal's and Circuit City, they did that. It's all right. It's okay. It's okay. You know, they ain't got to know. All the people at Pistol Pete's Pizza and all the people at Furs and people at Blockbuster. See, y'all ain't even heard of these places. You're proving my point that the fact that you don't even know what these institutions are. Somebody used to work there. There were people that was employees of the month and employees of the year, and they missed their kids' graduation, and they went to work sick, and they missed somebody else their own vacation. They did all this hard stuff at these places, and the actual hours and time and physical work and labor that they put into that all faded away the minute those businesses went under. And I understand that work is a part of life. You can thank Adam and Eve for that one. That's not my fault. Christ understands it too. What am I trying to highlight? I'm trying to highlight how some of the stuff that we do that is independent of God, it's going to fade. But what happens with God, right? What about Jesus when he was doing what he was doing? Because I need you to know, Jesus worked too. He understands when we say work, he understands what you're talking about. Most of us know that Jesus was a carpenter by trade. That's what he did with his hands in order. So I'm not in no way, don't ever go out here and say, Pastor Key told me to quit my job because I'm working for somebody else. And I did not say that. That's not what I'm saying. Y'all stay with me. I told you, stay with me. We paint the picture here, right? I'm not saying that. Jesus understood that he had a job too. He was a carpenter, right? So I'm not telling you to quit doing the things that provide your ability to eat and provide for yourself. But I'm saying, let's look at what Jesus did too. Because when I say Jesus worked too, I'm not necessarily talking about the same things that I think you think I'm talking. I'm talking about more like in what happened in 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 16. In 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 16, it talks about this stuff. It says, God was manifested in flesh. Says he was justified in the spirit, says he was seen by angels, said that he preached to the Gentiles, said he was believed on in the world, and it says that he was received up in glory. Now we're talking about work here, so let me talk about the work. Let's go to work. It says he was manifested in flesh. That means that God came from heaven and he had to come all the way down onto the earth to be born. That means he had to wrap himself up in flesh. That means that he had to actually be a baby. All of my mothers in the room that have actually had a child, you understand that having a baby is work, getting big, throwing up, having pains, having random symptoms that come out of nowhere. Emotions are all over the place. You cry for no reason. Stuff starts to sag and it never came back up. And we ain't even gotten to the delivery part of it. Having a baby, just Jesus being manifested, he worked. It was work. That was work. It says justified in the spirit. That means that he had to be declared to be righteous during his resurrection and that he had the Holy Spirit with him. Now, I don't know about you. Maybe y'all know the formula. I don't. I don't know what it takes. I don't know the formula. I don't know the process. I don't know the ingredients. I don't know exactly who it is that you need to take somebody that's been dead for 3 days and bring them back from the grave. I don't know what that takes. But what I do know is that takes some work. Somebody had to do some work for that to happen. So there's work involved here because Jesus also understands that he worked too. It says he preached amongst the Gentiles. I don't think people really understand how extremely taboo this was for him to preach among the Gentiles. Jesus was born a Jew. He grew up in Jewish culture. He knew everything that there was to know about being a Jew. They did not get along. They did not like each other. This was not something that was supposed to be done. This This is Bloods and the Crips. They didn't get along. This is GDs and Vice Lords. They didn't get along. This is Palestine and Israel. They didn't get along. This is MAGA and the Black Panther Party. They don't get along, right? They don't get along with each other. They don't vibe with one another. And Jesus was over here preaching among the Gentiles. It was extremely taboo, and it was one of the main motivating factors that made him a target, but it was work. Because Jesus understands. He worked too, right? And it says he was believed on in the world. Jesus is our great redeemer. He's the author and finisher of our faith. He's the good news. He's the gospel. He's our savior. Believing in him gives us eternal life and also the supernatural ability to live a holy, righteous, and fulfilling life. All of that is still happening today. He's still working. Jesus is still working. You can't outwork him. I'm going to talk about that maybe next week, about how you can't outwork him. But he's still at work. He's still working right now. Now, let's do the same thing we just did with y'all. But who and what was he working for? All that work, what was it for? It was for the glory of God. Yes, he received glory. It says he was taken back up into heaven and he received glory. And he did receive glory. That all part of that is true because that's just how good God is. But the motivated reason, the reason why he actually did it, he did it for us. And he also did it for the glory of his Father. He said, I was sent so that I may glorify the one that sent me. He's talking about that. So all of the work, all of the ups and downs, the birth, the persecution. Do you realize his mom and daddy had to stay on the run for almost the first 2 years of his life because somebody was trying to kill him? Can you imagine you and your wife is pregnant and y'all got to leave y'all home and stay away from y'all family for the first 2 years because somebody wants to kill your baby? All of the training, all of the teaching, all of the praises and the ridicules that came right after it, the beatings, getting ran out of this place, ran out of that place, the cross that he went to, the grave that he eventually ended up in, and the miracles, all of that work that he actually did was for the glory of God. And none of it faded. None of it faded. We're still talking about it.
Yes.
2 millennia later, we're still talking about what Jesus did. We're still talking about his work. Why is that? What is the difference? He worked for the glory of God. We're talking about some of the stuff that we do, that we work for ourselves or anybody else. And don't get me wrong, it's not necessarily a wrong thing, but I need you to understand what we're saying. Even if you do everything that you do and you say, I do it for my family, I would like for anybody in this room to tell me their great-great-great-grandfather's name. You know, your granddaddy's granddaddy. That's all I'm asking, your granddaddy's granddaddy. Does anybody know their granddaddy's granddaddy name? So you do all this work and you justify it and you say, I'm just doing it for my family. And in 5 generations, they ain't even gonna know your name. Faded. It fades. And I'm not saying, no, you good. Oh, you went backwards. I'm not saying that this stuff isn't good. I'm saying the stuff that we highlight and we put so much more time, effort, and energy into fades. And then everything that Jesus did while he was here stayed. Why? Because Jesus works for eternity. That's what he does. He works for eternity. When you work for the glory of God, you're working for something that's absolutely eternal. Everything that Jesus did, all of his work was for the glory of God. His sufferings and his victories were all for something eternal. And since we're called to be just like God, everything that he has us doing, all of our ups and our downs are the exact same way. Everything that God has you in, if you're doing it for the glory of God, don't you understand that all gets counted? None of it is going to fade. None of it is going to be wasted. I know it's frustrating. I know it's irritating. I know you're tired of it. I know he's making you do stuff that you don't want to do. What I'm saying to you is that you get credit for it. It's all going to be a part of this bigger thing that is called the story of God that's never going to fade. It all gets added in and mixed into the glory of God, right? Everything, every frustration, every heartache, every problem, every issue, every night, every tear that you drop, all of it goes together for the highlight to upload and to magnify his eternal glory. And none of it fades and none of it was wasted. Not a single bit of it. Let me tell you a story. So my wife, Amber, she's in the back. Hey, baby. My wife, Amber, she decided, well, she didn't decide. In 2012, God told her that she was needed to go get her master's degree. And so God told her that he was going to send her to Howard University to get her master's degree. She's never lived anywhere that wasn't Las Vegas. So she's moving all the way to the other side of the country in order to go get this master's degree. She knows nobody. 0 people, right? She moves all the way over there to Washington, D.C., moves in with this lovely lady named Marilyn. And Marilyn allows her to rent a room. And while she's there, it was the breakout of bed bugs. Some of y'all may be too young for that, but in 2012, there was this weird infestation that came out of nowhere of bed bugs. Now, she's renting a room in here, and all of a sudden, she's getting ate up by bed bugs. Nobody else in the house is getting ate up by bed bugs. Nobody else's room, they can't find them. And they kept bringing out exterminators looking for them. They couldn't find them. And they kept thinking that she was making it up and that she was crazy. But she had all these bite marks on her legs and on her back and on her arms. And she couldn't sleep. And she would call me crying. And she'd be scratching all the time, even when she wasn't in the bed, because she felt like she was losing her mind because they could not find the bed bugs. But all the evidence and all the biting and all the irritation of the bed bugs was right there for her. So then she moves out and she gets a job. She goes to this school called C, where she's like a floor advisor. It's one of those things back east. Back east, they send kids to school and you live at the school, right? So she was one of the floor advisors, right, of this school. But she was also doing an internship and she's also going to get her degree, right? So in the course of doing all three of these things, she's getting only about 4 hours of sleep. That's all she's getting a night is 4 hours of sleep. And because she's working it the way that she's working it, oftentimes she would have to walk home and at nighttime in Southeast DC, where she's walking on the side of woods and in pitch blackness. And she would call me at odd hours of the night trying to talk to me because she was so scared that something was going to happen to her. And I'm like, well, you'll be all right. You know what I'm saying? Thug it out. You'll be good. I didn't know. You know what I mean? And then she would get to where she's living right now, and she would get to her room, and she would inflate her air mattress because she didn't have the money for a real mattress. So she's on an air mattress, and she would inflate the air mattress, but the air mattress had a hole in it, right? And so she would go to bed with the mattress inflated, and then she would wake up on the ground, you know what I'm saying, completely flat, right? Back hurting, neck hurting, and all this other stuff. And then she started doing weird stuff like asking me for $12 or $16. And I'd be like, why do you need specifically $16? And she's like, well, I got $4 in my account and I need 20. And I'm like, girl, what is wrong with you? And I would send her $60 or $80. Like, what is your problem? Why would you ask me? She's thugging it out. She's trying to make this thing happen that God told her to do. Right? And then she gets up one day, puts on her Air Force Ones. It's wintertime. She walks down, get ready to go to a store or something, and she slips on black ice. And she breaks her leg in 2 places. Right? So now she's got to come home. And I got to nurse her back to health. So I'm washing her hair and I'm washing her and doing all this stuff, which she wants me to continue to do now, and her leg is fine. I'm not doing it. So she's doing all this stuff to make her all right? But she's got a broken leg. She had to get a metal rod put into her leg. She had to get 2 screws put into her ankle. Right? And she's getting ready to go back to Howard University. They raised the tuition. And they raised it so much that she can't really afford it. And so she's struggling. And she's struggling. She's thugging it out. She's a trooper. She's thugging it out, right? And so me and her friend, we can kind of hear something ain't right. So we tell her we're going to come visit. Really, we was coming to do a recon mission. We was kind of seeing what was really going on. We need to lay eyes on what was going on. And I'm telling you, the minute we walked into where she was staying and we saw the mattress and we saw all the top ramen, as if that was the only thing that they were selling in DC was top ramen. And we saw where she was walking at nighttime and we saw the conditions that she was in and we saw how she was actually living. We told her, that's it, that's all. You're coming home. You're coming home. You cannot do this. You can't live this way. You did a good effort, but you're coming home. And so she comes home. No degree. Metal rod and 2 screws. Bed bug experience. No glory. A lot of work. No glory. And a ton of debt. Oh, Howard University don't play. A ton of debt. And so 2 years ago, mind y'all, that was 2012, maybe 2014. 2013, 2 years ago, God tells Amber, I want you to go back and get your master's degree. Now, we're done with school. Y'all understand what I'm saying when I say we done with school? We done with school. Yeah. You know how you feel when you're done with school? Yeah. We done with school. I'm not going back to a classroom again. No more notebooks, no more writing, no notes, no. We done with school. We are in agreement. God, we done with school, right? We done with it. We're not doing this anymore. We're done with school because we remembered all that we just went through, or all that she went through the last time she went. We remember all that work and no glory. Well, we also are obedient. So she goes back to school. No money to pay for it, mind you. Go back to school. So we're sitting there yesterday or 2 days ago, and we're talking about Sunrise, and we're talking about the school we're going to build, and we're talking about the ACS, and we're talking about the vision. We're talking about all this other stuff. And she gets done talking to her advisor, and our advisor tells us, you know, you're on schedule to graduate next spring, 2025. 2012, 2025. All that time, all that work, all that money, all that effort, all this other stuff. And God says, so and we're sitting there, we're talking, and Amber goes, God, you're going to use my degree for the kingdom, aren't you? You're going to use my degree for the kingdom, aren't you? That's what this was all about. And it's almost as if a light bulb just comes up out of nowhere. It's almost as if we just stumbled upon a master plan, or we just fell into something that fell into our lap. It was like an eye-opening experience. He was like, absolutely, I'm going to use your degree for the kingdom. Absolutely, I'm going to pay you to help these people and do all this stuff. Absolutely, you're going to work at the ACS and the school that we're going to build at Sunrise. Absolutely, we're going to do that. But on top of that, I'm also going to use your story. I'm going to use your story for my glory. Because there's glory in the word. Here's what I mean. If anybody wants to come and try to tell her about the fact that they're having a hard time trying to get their degree, she's got a story to tell about how God told her to do something way in 2012 and didn't finish the work all the way until 2025. But what he does, the good thing that he starts in one person, or that he starts in you, he will see it all the way into completion. So I don't care how long it's telling you that it's taking you. We got 11 years on the book from start to finish of what we're talking about. So it don't matter really how long it's going to take you to do it. What I know to be true, what I know about God, and what I know about how Jesus works is that it took us 11 years from when he told us to do something, and all of that work goes for his glory, because now she can tell somebody flat-footed, I know that Jesus worked. There's glory in this work. If you're going to tell me you got some physical pain, she's got a scar to show you that goes right up and down her knee to tell you about, oh, you having a hard time while you're trying to get your degree? I feel you. But let me help you out. Don't you give up. Don't you stop. Don't you give up on this thing. Let me tell you some stuff about it. From 2012 to 2011, let me tell you about how my leg and how I had screws in there that I had to get taken out. Let me tell you about all the stuff that God did for me to be able to get the glory out of this whole thing. Let me tell you about what all he did. If somebody wants to sit here and try to tell her about how we don't have no money to do this, that, and the third, or how frustrated something is, she's got a story to tell that gives God nothing but the glory. He took all of that to make a glorious story. If you're going to suffer, if you're going to work, if you're going to exert some force, if you're going to overcome some resistance in order to make some change happen, I really suggest that you do it for something that ain't going to fade.
Yeah, right.
I really suggest that you do it for something that's actually going to matter, you know what I'm saying, long term, eternally. I suggest that you do it for something that is for his eternal glory. If you're going to suffer, you might as well do something or let it be a part of something that's going to last, which is where we find the guy in our text. I know y'all thought I forgot about that. I didn't. I remember, right? This is where we find the blind man in our text, because he was blind from birth. Y'all get what I'm saying? He was blind from birth. Everything was harder from him from the jump. He had to do things harder because he was blind. Stuff that was normal and easy for regular people was harder for him because he was blind. Stuff that other people can do because they had sight, it was harder for him because he was blind. And he had a hard way of going from since the very beginning of his sight. He had to suffer with this blindness, but eventually Christ shows up and says, this didn't happen so that this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him. His affliction, his hardship, his blindness that was later cured, all of that work, all of those days, all of that suffering, all of that hardship, all of the stuff that he had to go through was for the glory of God, and it never faded. How? Because we're still talking about it today. Yeah. Do any of you, or does anybody talk about your social studies paper that you did in 6th grade? Gone. Faded. Gone. All of this was made for the glory of God. There's glory in the work. There's a glory that happens when you work for God. And I understand. I know that it's not easy and it's difficult and it's frustrating. I know that it's not, saying something simple. I know that, Matthias, I'm glad you came. Perfect. Come on. Come here. I want you to and I want you to do a wall sit for me. You know what a wall sit is. Now, as you do the wall sit, I want you to just put one leg out. Just one. Because because what I want y'all to understand is I understand that it's difficult. And I understand that it's frustrating. And I understand that God puts you in positions that you don't want to be in. I understand that he puts you in spots where it's painful and you're not really sure if you're even going to be able to finish it and make it. I know that it's hard. I know it feels like we leave you by yourself and that nobody's even paying attention to you. I do see you. I see what's going on. Every bit of this effort that he is putting in is for the glory of God, because people are going to see this message in real time and watch what it is that he's doing. All of this stuff matters. It's never going to actually fade. You can switch your leg. I didn't forget about you. I promise you, Jesus is going to work through what he's telling you to do. I know you had to go further. I know you had to work longer. I know you had to go harder. I know you had to go without. I know you had to go without a father. I know you had to go without money. I know you had to go without support. I know you had to watch others get what you desire with absolutely no pushback. And I know that all of it has been work. I know it's been painful. And I know that you're frustrated. And I know that you're ready for it to end. But what I'm trying to get you guys to all understand, you can stop, thank you, that there's glory in the work that we're doing here. That God is doing something in your work. God is doing something in your frustration and in your pain. So I need you to stay in the work, because I need you to also know that even though you know all of this stuff that was going on, I need you to know that there's glory in the work, because I know that Jesus works. He told us, don't be surprised by these fiery trials that you go through. We act as if something strange has happened every time we come up against some hardship. Every time things don't go the way that we want them to do. He said, instead, be very glad, for these trials make you partners with Christ in his suffering, so that the wonderful joy of seeing his glory when it's revealed. Don't you understand that God understands your story? That he's with you in every step of your story? And he's working this out, not just for him to get the glory, but for you to get the glory, because there's a blessing in staying in the word. There's a blessing. And there's a glory that comes to this. I wish y'all really could hear how he said it to me when he's talked about how important it is that you do, that it's being actually added and recorded to what they do in heaven. Y'all understand that the angels know what you're doing? Do y'all understand that the heavenly host knows what you're doing? Do y'all understand that the Father is actually paying attention to everything, not just what you do, but how you feel about it? That you didn't want to do it and you did it anyway. That you were frustrated and you did it anyway. That you gutted it out and you did it anyway. That all counts for something. It all counts for something. When's the last time your boss said, I know you didn't want to come to work today, but thank you? Never. If you're on the schedule, they expect you to be there. It all counts for something. He says in 1 Peter, he says, so if you're suffering in a manner that pleases God, keep on doing what's right. And trust your lives to the one God that created you, for he will never fail you. Never fail you. Need you to understand there's glory in this work. I need you to remember the last time you were in a work and how we brought you through. But all of you that are in a work right now, I need you to start seeing it for what it is. You're doing something that is going to last forever. It's recorded, it's added into this great story that is called God's story, the glory of God. It will always exist forever. Stand to your feet. On tonight, my one assignment for all of you on tonight was to help you to better see your situation, for you to better see what God has called you to, for you to better understand that what you are doing isn't really all that small. A lot of times we minimize what it is that God has us doing. But everything, every chair you set up, every prayer you say, every good word you do, every time you don't give in to what you really want to do that God told you not to do, all of that stuff is recorded. All of that stuff matters. And there's a blessing that comes along with it. And I know we don't do it just for the blessing, but I need you to understand there is a blessing that stays a part of all of this stuff. But God is writing a story. And I need you to understand what a privilege it is that he wants to include you in his story. Do y'all not understand that God can pick anybody? He's God. He made everybody. And he wants us. And he chose you. And he picked you. And he grabbed you. And not only did he do that, he orchestrated all these things that happens in